friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be sewing up the Petunia Peplum Top and Dress pattern. This is such a cute pattern. I am super excited about it. I love a cute peplum moment, and also obviously I love a cute dress, and this hits both spots. So I am actually making the dress version today, but if you want to make the peplum, it's sewn the same way, except for obviously the peplum skirt will be a lot shorter than the actual skirt of the dress. I love the fact that this has the little dart seams, the princess seams at the front, and we're going to be working on those. This pattern is for more like stable knits. So I'm using it's kind of like a Liverpool fabric. It still has good stretch, but it's a little bit more stable. So I love that. I am going to be sewing up the short sleeve just because that's what I want on this dress. But if you are looking on how to sew up the longer sleeve, make sure you check out a puff sleeve dress tutorial where we show you how to sew up that sleeve if you want to have more information on that. Let's get started. All right, so we're going to get started. I have all my pieces here, my two sleeves, my front with my two side pieces, my back with my two back pieces, and my two skirt pieces here. So we're going to do the same thing for the front and back bodice. We're going to lay out our front bodice / back bodice up on our mat, face up. I have my little marks here of where I'm going to be matching up because my side has also the little notches here. We're going to start at the bottom and we're going to match up right sides together, those fabrics. So this is the side and the front bodice. And as I go, I'm just going to kind of round it up. And you should be matching up those points that you created when you were cutting it. Either like I do when I'm cutting, I just go out at the place, or you could just have a pin there or a clip there that marks your notch. As I'm going here, you will notice that at the edge, you will have a 1/4 inch piece right here that hangs out. You can see it right there. And that piece is meant to be there because once you flip it open, once you sew it and you flip it open, you want to make sure that it fits nicely. It will shore up right there and you'll be a straight piece right there at the side. So you will have a little piece right here that hangs over an extra 1/4 inch. We're going to do the same on the other side. You start at the bottom and then you start matching up all those points that you marked. All right, and that will be our bodice. So we're going to put that aside. I'm going to do the same to the back. So if you want to go ahead and go sew the front up first and then come back to the back, you can do that. But as you can see, when you match them up, there's my back. So I'm going to do that to the back as well. The same way. That's my sleeve. The same way that I did the front. All right, so let's go sew those up. You're going to use your preferred stretch stitch. I'm going to use my serger. You can do a zigzag stitch, lightning bolt stitch. It's up to you, whatever you want to use for that. All right, so now our front bodice are done. You want to steam those seams towards the bodice. And then we're going to flip them over. We're going to grab our back and our front, and we're going to face them right sides together at the shoulder seam. And we're going to sew those up, again, using your preferred stretch stitch. All right, I'm also at the same time going to grab my cap sleeve, and I'm going to fold this bottom, and I'm going to hem it. So we're going to fold it up 1/2 inch and hem. I'm going to go give it a steam and then fold it up and hem it. All right, so now we're going to attach our sleeves, and you can see that I have a couple notches here on my sleeve. So I'm going to grab it, and the one that is the back, this is the back. So you want to make sure that you're matching the front to the front and the back to the back. You're going to match up here at the shoulder seam where that mark is. And we're going to align the raw edges all the way down the back and the front. Now, you're going to see that the sleeve is going to match up. The notch is going to match up right here. And then the rest of it is just going to kind of come out to the come out, and then you'll have a little piece still of the fabric at the end. We're going to put a little bit of like a binding there so that it looks nice and neat. So when you're going all the way down, you'll see that you have it doesn't go all the way down. That's what I'm trying to say. Like you'll come to that spot and you'll have still a little bit. So this is going to be going towards the inside. Then we're going to go ahead and baste that on, which means just a long straight stitch on your sewing machine. You don't have to sew it yet. We're going to sew it later. We're going to attach it later. But for now, we're just basting it on. And then we'll do the sewing once we add the binding. Do the same for the other sleeve. It's funny, I'm like turning my body at the same time that I'm turning the sleeve, as if that's going to help me turn my sleeve. All right, I'm going to go baste out with a straight stitch on my sewing machine. I'm going to make it a 4 length or a 5 length because it's something that we can pull off later once we are going to actually attach it. Oh my goodness. Make sure there's thread in your spool. In your bobbin, I mean, not spool, bobbin. Well, thread in your spool too, but you need your bobbin. Just going to use a random color that's already threaded, since it doesn't really matter because we're going to pull this stitch out later. Look at that. Do you see something wrong with that? Well, that's okay. It's just a basting stitch. So we're just going to pull on that thread, bobbin thread, and redo it for the 3rd time. 3rd time's a charm. Y'all, you probably saw me doing that and you're like, you're not even pinning. You're just going to go for it. And then you're like, oh no, she doesn't realize it. She's not holding it right. It's all right. We've got it. This third time is a charm, right? That's what we always say. This is it. If this doesn't happen, I might just walk away. Let's see. Perfect. Perfect. The flower almost matches. All right. Let's hope the other one goes well on the first try. It's all right. Little mistakes like that don't really frustrate me too much because, you know, they just happen. As long as it's nothing major, you can fix it. All right, our bodice is coming along. I'm going to trim all these threads because I do not like having threads all over the place. All right, we're going to grab our bodice and we're going to face it right sides together, the front and back, and we're going to sew that side seam. Now remember that you're going to have these pieces here of your sleeve that are going to be just hanging there, and that is fine. While I'm sewing sides, why not go ahead and sew my skirt together, because that is also sides. I've got my skirt front and back, and I'm going to face them right sides together and sew at the side seams. All right, so we're getting close to the end. We just have all right, so we're getting close to the end. We just have binding to do and then attaching the skirt and the bodice together, and that's about it. So I'm going to grab right here, open up your sleeve to where you can see the excess, the extra fabric here, and you can see the seam here in the middle. We're going to grab that little piece of binding and we're going to place it right over that spot. And you're going to clip right there, and we're going to go around the whole thing, but catching the raw edge of the actual shirt bodice, like the arm side. So then like this extra stuff right here, this extra piece of sleeve, you can just clip that off, or you know, you're going to eat it with your serger when you sew your sleeve on anyway. But I'm just going to cut it off right there real quick. Okay, so then we're going to go to our sewing machine or our serger, however you want to sew your sleeve on, whatever stretch stitch you want to use. And now we're going to go all the way around the whole thing where you basted, and making sure that you're catching this little binding that we created. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, let's go do that. When I'm over there, I'm going to grab my binding and I'm going to fold it right sides together, and I'm going to sew that short raw edge right there. So that way when we come back, we can go ahead and attach binding, and then we'll work on attaching skirt as well. There's your binding attached and your sleeve. So when you fold it out, you'll see that it's just like this right here. All right, so to finish up that piece right there, what we're going to do is we're going to now fold it over towards the seam, and then we're going to top stitch it. So we'll fold it towards the seam and we'll top stitch it so that it covers that seam right there. Now the edge of it will be left raw. This is a knit, so it's not going to fray on you or anything like that, but now it will cover up that seam right there, and you'll have this nice binding there, so it won't be like a raw piece right there of your fabric. You won't see that raw piece of your serger right there. So that's what that's for. So we'll top stitch that, but I don't want to do that just yet, because I want to change my sewing machine to a cover stitch. So I'm going to be doing that and the neck binding and the hemming at the same time, with my machine being a cover stitch. So we're going to move on to sewing the binding, and then I'll show you how I'm going to top stitch it. So to do the binding of the neckline, we do have to match our quarters. So we're going to match up our shoulders and find our front and our back. I like to do a little snip with my scissors, and then I'm going to match up that front and back and go to the sides. I'm going to grab my binding and do the same thing from the back to the front, do a little notch right there, and then match the front and the back together, and then go to the sides and create the quarters. Now right sides together, we're going to match up that back seam here at the back, and then go around to match up the quarter points, right sides together. All right, so I'm going to go sew that on. If you're like me and you want to do everything at the same time, you can. You don't have to. You can take it a step at a time. But I'm going to go ahead and fit my skirt into my bodice. But I'm just going to find the front. So I'm going to match up the sides and find my front and my back. And then do the same for the skirt. I am going to get rid of these extra threads that I don't need right now. And then I'm going to fit my bodice into my skirt. It's a bit easier to fit my bodice into my skirt. And I may go ahead and sew the skirt first, and then sew the binding. So I'm going to match up that front and back and then those side seams, and it should be just sizing up. All right, let's sew that up. Let's sew that binding up. Then we'll come back and I'll change my serger to a cover stitch, and we will top stitch the binding, the sleeve binding, and we'll hem. All right, so I'm gonna understitch my binding by moving this seam allowance towards the binding and top stitching at the binding. So that seam allowance is over here towards the binding, and we're going to top stitch the binding. So that way that that seam allowance, that binding won't poke out later when we top stitch it. Like we're top stitching that, but you're not going to be able to see that on the outside. You're just catching it on the inside. The binding is tacked on. I mean, the binding and the allowance are tacked on, but this is going to get turned down like so that understitching is going to be on the inside. You won't be able to see it to the outside, because we're going to tuck it under and then top stitch around. All right, my machine is ready for a cover stitch. Okay, again, for the sleeve, we're going to fold that piece towards the inside, covering that seam allowance, and we're just going to top stitch. Just top stitch right there. I'm just going to top stitch like where my binding is. You can actually go all the way around if you want to top stitch, but I'm just top stitching just that little area right there. So I'm just going to go right in and just top stitch. Okay, now for my neck binding, same thing. We're going to fold that binding towards the inside. As you can see, the understitch is on the inside, and here from the outside we're going to top stitch. Obviously I come from the outside because I have my cover stitch, so you have to stitch it from the outside, but you're just going to top stitch that down. And if you didn't want to see the stitching, you literally could just hand stitch it. Just steam it really well and then hand stitch it so that you can't see the stitching on the outside. You can do it like a little blind, stitch or whatever. And then we're going to go at the bottom of the dress and we're going to fold for our hem allowance 1/2 inch, and then we're going to top stitch that and we're done. That's it. I'm so excited. This is going to be so cute. All right, so this is what it will look like on the outside, the top stitching, and on the inside, look like that. So it's just nice and finished. All right, the neck binding is done. You can see right there. And now hemming. All right, friends, we are done sewing up this dress and it turned out so good. I love the A-line of the skirt, the darts. I think it looks so pretty. Let me know what you think. I think this fabric was perfect for this dress. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Go grab your pattern, come back and sew it up with me, and I'll see you all next time.